it like, guys? You know, you were at Stax in those early days, at Stax, and you were, say, the house band. How did you come from being in the background to the foreground? How did that transition occur?
Well, before that happened, John, let's go back a little further.
Okay.
We had to get in the door. You know, like I started off like as a gopher. I was just, you know, go get this, go get that. Takes, you know, Duck and Al Jackson's clothes to the cleaners. I was too young to drive, so they wouldn't let us drive the vehicles. So, you know, we just hanging out, just trying to get in where we fit in. What didn't happen back then that much, we were just trying to just see what the situation was. But, we just started hanging out. Carl Cunningham used to slip in and start playing Al Jackson's drums, and he got run out of the studio all the time. And I was playing Duck's bass and stuff like that. Every time we started messing with the instruments, they would run us out of the studio.
Talking about Booker T and G.
So did you actually learn while you was just hanging out in the studio?
Well, at that time, believe it or not, I'll be quite honest with you, I couldn't play Mary Had a Little Lamb, less known as Fleets as White as Snow. I couldn't play nothing. I was, to be quite honest with you, I was kind of pitiful.
He's modest.
No, true story. See, when I started playing, my dad bought me an instrument. He bought me a bass. Everybody in the improv was too young. Just a few people may remember. On Bill Street, they used to have a lot of pawn shops. And there was a pawn shop down there called Epstein's Pawn Shop. And my dad bought me a bass, guitar, and a little amplifier. I think the whole thing didn't even cost $80, the whole deal. But I couldn't play it. And so what happened is I would take my bass and go over to rehearsal, and let the bass player use my bass. So one day the bass player didn't show up, and they say, well, the bass player didn't show up, so we need you to play the bass. And
but you couldn't play.
I couldn't play. I couldn't play the bass. The guy said, well, you the new bass player. You the new bass player. I couldn't play that, but he said, you the new bass player. I said, well, man, I don't know I don't know how to do this. He said, well, we'll show you a few little things. So actually, that's really how I got in. Period.
You was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, I was in the right place at the right time. Mm-hmm. None playing at all.
So wow, let me think of something that, we were talking earlier, Larry, about, the artists today and, say back in the day, kind of blend it all together. And we're looking at, when you look at the Polestar charts, and you just don't see a lot of artists working. It's like they got songs, but they're not working. And when I say working, I mean they're not touring, they're not doing shows.
Yeah, and that's just really, it's sad, and it's a big problem, and part of the reason, a big part of the reason that we were sharing it as we were talking, John, is because there's something inside of the artists from back in the day, as we're going to call it, the classic artists, old school, whatever the title may be, that these kids, a lot of them just don't have. They have the songs, but they don't have that thing that lights us up and makes us forget about our troubles and woes when we go to concerts. And that's really what it's all about. That's what music is all about. That's what you go to concerts for, to get enlightened and to feel better after a hard day. And you have to be entertained. And unfortunately, these kids, they're absent of that in a lot of them. Not all of them, and there's something about the artists that were here and recorded the music in these walls. They had it. They just had it. They couldn't read music. They couldn't tell you what B flat and all of that, as James says. Like, you kids yourself about not being able to play, but they had something on the inside that we call soul. And when they opened their mouths, or when they played and they hit just a few simple notes, it struck something on the inside of you that makes we call it chill bumps go up. That's what gets you on stage, and that's what keeps you moving and being able to perform, even when you don't have records. That's what has helped us for years and years and years, even in our valleys of the Bar-Kays 50 years. we always had mentors like Otis Redding, and we looked at James Brown and Stevie Wonder and Sly Stone, these guys. And we had good managers who made us rehearse 10 and 12 hours a day. And it wasn't so much that we were just so dynamic personally, but together we were a piece of a pie that was just really kind of very hard to beat on a good night. That's what the barcade's all about.
And yeah, I'd like to add to that what Larry was saying. That I give y'all a prime example, and you may disagree, because opinions are just like. But anyway, I give you a good example that y'all can study this. Take Mary J. Blige, and a lot of people may disagree with me. Mary J. Blige is not a real good singer.
No, she's not.
But Mary J. Blige has conviction. When she delivers a song, she can make you get into it, and she can make you feel it, and you be with her all the way. And so that's what she got going for her. So, just all you people, especially everybody who was here, just take heed. I mean, she's not a great singer, but she makes up for it with conviction. Because you definitely feel her when she delivers a song.
And I'll tell you something else too. The greats. Imagine how many times that Gladys Knight has had to sing Midnight Train to Georgia. You would think that she would get tired of singing that song, but I've heard her sing it a lot of times. John, how many times you've heard her sing it? Oh my God! And she sings it better now than she sang it back when. That's professionalism. That's that thing. She's so concerned about how she makes you that person that pays $65. You used to pay $15, but now you pay $65, $75, $100, right? But that thing inside of her makes her want to make Midnight Train to Georgia sound just as good as it did when she recorded it 50 years ago. That's something that these kids kind of just don't have, You understand what I'm saying? It's that it factor. It's that it factor. And Mary J. Blige, she has it. She got it, and they kid her about her being always making the songs about her troubled life, but those are the things that cut like a knife, because we go through those things. Those are the things that make the best songs, the true experiences. Not back that ass up, because nobody gonna be before back that ass up. I'm sorry, when it's gone, it's gone. We have generational wealth. Our kids will be making money off of songs that we wrote. Not all of them, but a lot of them, because the person that wrote Walk On By gonna make money for the rest of his life. That's right. That's right. The person that wrote I Left My Heart in San Francisco gonna make money. His kids still making money. That's right. Those are great songs. Yes, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. We still love those songs, no matter who sings. These songs are very shallow, a lot of them, and Johnny Walker has been an executive person in one of the top record labels and had many different jobs. And she's had an exceptionally hard job dealing with new age artists, right, Johnny?
Very hard, very hard.
Saying no to some bunch of that just ain't cutting the mustard. I'm sorry, it just ain't cutting the mustard. But the songs that were recorded and where we sit right here, I mean, just when we go look on those walls outside, we need to bring our kids to this place, man, because there will be a bunch of kids who will be saying, James, who? Otis, who? But we can't let that happen. And we just cannot let that happen. I am so glad we have places like this museum, and I'm so glad to be celebrating 50 years because of people like you, who have kept us going and about our music. And I'm glad that we're able to put music out, and after 50 years still have a top 10 record.
Awesome.
Awesome. I mean, that's something, praise the Lord.
We're going to see if anybody in the audience has questions, and if you guys got questions, just raise your hand, and while we'll grab one of those mics, Judge, and take it out there. And in the meantime, I want you guys to be thinking about telling this group of people about longevity. How do you sustain a career? I mean, who in the record, Gladys Knight, Tina Turner, Aretha Franklin, we can think of one or two, but 50 years? That is like an incredible milestone. So I just want to talk a little bit about longevity when we come back to you, because that is something I think you don't want to be a one-hit wonder, overnight sensation. 50 years, incredible. So let's get some questions from the audience.
I appreciate Larry Dodson handing me his mic so I don't have to be rude again. So I thank you for that, brother. But talking about some of the things, comparing then and now, how has songwriting and that whole process shifted? Because now, you know, basically you can have a computer like the one behind you and have GarageBand and do some things. Or, you know, you could just old-fashioned get on the piano, you know, or have the bass, however. How has songwriting changed, pretty much? And what advice would you give to people who write on, just like the young man that wrote that piece? What would you tell them?
Well, just being one of the songwriters in the band, we try to write songs. We've been known to be a party band, but I tell you, John Legend is one of a prolific writer right now. He's a very respectful writer right now. You want to write songs that, like I use this phrase, that cut like a knife. You want to write songs that are premeditated to do exactly what the pen makes it do. If it's to make you cry, or if it's to make you remember a passionate time, you know, the two most passionate times in your life are when you're saying hello after being gone for a while, or saying goodbye when you're getting ready to part. Write about those stuff. Write about real stuff. These kids want to write about shallow stuff. And they also want to make records on the shoulders of songs that are already proven. Thus came sampling. You know, James Brown's Get On Up has been a hit. But when somebody takes to Get On Up and he calls it something else, that's something else. Now that's cool, because that's a gap, because if he hadn't done that, our kids perhaps wouldn't have, that wouldn't have been a connection for today. There's some good, it's a double-edged sword. And they're paying now too, so that's better. Also, there's some good parts to that. But I would just say the difference is now they don't want to think. You know, they just want to emulate stuff. You know, they want to do quick and easy stuff rather than sitting up and actually thinking, you know, what was the last time? What made me cry? You know, when was I really, really hurt? Let me write about that, because if I can write about that, then I can make that person feel the hurt, and he'll run to the store, you know, and buy that, or he'll run and download it, you know. And I think that's the biggest part.
And I'd just like to add to that, you know, in songwriting, a lot of things, I mean, you know, the feeling or the thing that you're trying to say is said. I guess the only thing that I'm not all of that with is the way these people say certain things. Now, I mean, Marvin Gaye and people back then were saying, you know, the same thing. You know, it's all, you know, let's get it on. But he ain't saying, you know, he ain't going all up on the people's clothes and this, that, and the other. He ain't doing all of that. They said the same thing back then, but they said it in a more dignified way. But the end results are the same, but it just said it in a very unique way. And I think that a lot of writers today just don't take time. I mean, you know, all you have to do is just take time and put your words together rather than trying to rush on through it. It's just like a relationship. If you're trying to rush on through it, take your time. You know, it ain't going nowhere.
Any other questions? We're back in the back there.